Guys, we are finally starting to record this podcast.
My God, there are some technical difficulties. Things
I
happen.
I echo those problems.
Stop it. Stop it.
Oh,
Get out of
man.
here.
If it's bad when they listen, that's gonna be bad. I'm gonna feel really, really terrible. Anyway, guys, 201 podcast. It is amazing how much has happened since our last show. When you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
There were some signings. Pietrangelo signed. The Habs did a lot. The Leafs also did a good bit of stuff. So I want to start the show here, though, guys, by saying that we have a Twitter account finally. We had an Instagram. If you're listening to this, you hopefully were following it. But Daniel, Alex, Twitter.
Wow. We are on Twitter at 2on1 podcast. I'm about to share my screen here so you can all see the page, and you better go follow it.
Please follow it. If you want to see this,
33 followers.
Wow.
33 followers. Low. Let's go. If you're
Patrick Law number.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, I mean, like you can just see here, no need to worry about Michael Hutchinson. Great guy, probably. Just didn't work on the team. We give our
classic
controversial hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
While we're doing that, I want to log on to it and tweet about Gallagher.
We have a good mix.
Yeah.
Victor Mete, happy Thanksgiving.
We
have the content that people want.
Exactly. We predicted, or I was me who tweeted that one, that Vegas and Colorado will be the 2020-2021 Western Conference Finals. So that's that. Yeah. That's that for Twitter. Make sure you go follow at 2on1 podcast. The link will be in the description.
It'll be fun. We're funny guys. So
hey, if you leave like a nice comment or a genuine comment about something, maybe we'll say it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But if you tell me my mom doesn't let me stay up to watch Vegas games, I'm not going to read it.
Don't be a Canucks fan. We're kidding. Well, don't be an annoying one. Anyway, though, guys, next little thing. We've been teasing this for a while, and it took a longer time for me to finally send it all to Alex for him to make it all pretty. He did that in like a day, so that's my fault. The official 2on1 podcast bingo card of bingo is complete. And again, if you want to look at it right now, go to the YouTube version of this episode on YouTube. That was a bit redundant. And you can check it out. Look how pretty it looks. Oh my God, it's beautiful. And the visual experience is the way that you can check it out when you're on YouTube. You should check out and subscribe to the channel as well as my YouTube channel, because there's a new Brendan Gallagher video that just got uploaded. What are you doing? Go check it out.
And if you are not watching the YouTube version, make sure you go check it out on Instagram and Twitter. It'll be up on both of those. And let's just go through a couple of them here. Let's go through a couple.
All golden.
They're all golden. Well, okay. The color choice: red was for Montreal, Toronto was for blue was for Toronto. I just spoiled it. And that yellow or gold, it's for the Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
Wow. Not the Vegas Golden Knights.
Not the Vegas Golden Knights.
No, we don't like them.
So this one's probably going to happen this episode if I can get it there. Adam mixes Daniel and Alex. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I don't mean to. These are some great ones, and I mean I didn't come up with any of these. Adam did. I just made it look pretty. So shout out to Adam.
He did all the work. I just wrote down a bunch of things that on the podcast and thought, hey. What's up? Anyway, we should let's get to the hockey stuff. There is sort of something unfortunate to open up the show. We're not going to say who exactly wrote it. We're not going to say I've probably seen it, but don't go out and look. Don't click on the article that gives it attention. The only reason we're talking about this is because you can ignore someone's stupid take on Twitter about lineup decisions, but it kind of, I want to say almost belittling and accusing someone of faking gender discrimination is a bit much. That's not where 2020 is. That's not where Society really is. There was somebody who wrote an article titled "Faking Gender." Sorry, where are we with hockey reporter? Sorry's faking gender discrimination, where a grown man, or apparently a grown man, this man accuses Haley Salvian, who is an Ottawa Senators reporter, writer. She's fantastic, by the way.
The
And if
Athletic.
you want any proof of
Yes.
that, read any of her stuff. And when Ian Mendez gives you the thumbs up, you're a pretty good person. And accuses her of sort of twisting this DM that she got on Twitter and headlines it again, faking gender discrimination. And the only part of this article I really want to mention to you guys is, quote, I don't know what it's like to be a woman in sports, and maybe Haley misfired because she's tired of defending her job and sex. But gaslighting hatred is a really expletive way to go about it. And guys, I think this article and that line alone, just the phrase, I don't know what it's like to be a woman in sports, exactly proves Haley's point and just the lack of respect that women in sports get. Athletes, reporters, all of them, Alex.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where to start because it's such a. I don't know. Like I was thinking about it today because I saw it this morning and I'm like, okay, before we talk about it in the podcast, I want to think about how I'm going to put this because I don't want to get angry about it because I don't think I'm going to be able to communicate it properly. I think this is a really bad way to look at things and pretend like these things don't exist. Like it's true. Like there's a couple names, and again, I'm not gonna bring them up. They come out with flying hot garbage takes day after day after day after day, and yeah, they get some pretty bad comments. But we're talking about someone who asked a question about a legitimate question, asked about Jack Quinn going number 5 and what that would mean to the Senators, and she's like, this person said you need to do a better job at asking Pierre Dorian questions.
This is the DM, by the way, not the person.
Yeah. Sorry. We don't even want Jack Quinn at number 5. Okay. First off, you're not, listen, again, I could be very mistaken, but that person who's messaging in the DMs is not a journalist. No, just no. Like if you knew the context of why the question was being asked, Jack Quinn plays where?
Ottawa 67s.
Ottawa 67s. He was projected at the time to go top 10 is my understanding. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a very legitimate question to ask. Mm-hmm. I've heard people ask the dumbest questions. Like useless questions. Dumb's not the right word. Useless questions. No backlash. Mm-hmm. Like
Daniel, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just like, this isn't even this is the second time this week, and we'll get to the trade later. Rachel Doerrie worked for the New Jersey Devils. She gave her explanation on what she thought of Joey Anderson. Someone in the comments goes, well, I think you're wrong on a couple points. And, I cover the Devils. Okay, figure it out. Then someone asked, I don't know, I think it was either it might have been Mark Masters, or it could have been one of Myrtle or Siegel from The Athletic who put the quote up. Someone asked him about not getting the chance and about I think it was the grit. And he answered exactly as Rachel Doerrie said.
There's, to throw it over to you here, Daniel, there's always, a lot of people might say, well, guys, he didn't say anything about her gender. It's so clear, like the Jack Quinn stuff. We've always heard the question, why do you do to shut down this player? And a male reporter will never get a DM like that, just calling them out for asking a question. Their knowledge of the game will never be asked, Daniel. But with women, there's always that sort of they have to be second guessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it's still like a bias that we kind of see going on with everything, and again, like what we've talked about, like for a time where hockey has mentioned that we've struggled with diversity, we've struggled with inclusiveness, that you still get these types of opinions from things. And from what I saw today was where it's that thing where, like, like the cancel culture, the whole call out culture kind of thing, where it's like, well, I want to go against the grain and say that this person's kind of using their gender as an excuse to say that, oh, I've been victimized. But like the very fact that it doesn't have to be in that those explicit words that are being used, but it has to be more about, it's an ongoing cycle that we've always kind of seen with female reporters, something that they equally or sometimes more contribute to, like, what is going on with the sport, that we've always kind of seen that. Like, what are you kind of like, what are you contributing when you have these types of things where you call out someone to say that, oh yeah, I don't know what the perspective is, but I'm gonna write something anyways about it and say this is my opinion on things, and I'm gonna still respond to everybody that responds to me for that. And it's the thing what we talked about, like what we've seen on the Twitter for what that person posted. It's like they try to do that whole thing where, like, they try to have the higher ground with things, but it's just kind of like, it's just fueling the fires to the responses.
It's I'll put in 2 words. It's plain ignorance.
It is.
Exactly. Listen, it's really nice to see everyone, Chris Johnston, Frank Saravelli, giving, going to Haley Salvi and being like, you know what? Yeah, you're the best. We all know how good you are. And she deleted the tweet, and she said it because of the negativity around it. And then people are still trying to say, "Oh no, you were just wrong about this. You're overplaying this," and it's just be listeners out there, be better people, treat people right. Because again, we're all it's so simple, yet people just don't understand. We're all people at the end of the day. And treat others how you'd like to be treated. Honestly,
Before we move on, are you done, or did you have more?
that's all I was gonna say before we move on. So
Before we move on,
Mhm.
I think I've been reading Haley Salvian's work before. I think, like, it feels like even before we even started the show, to be honest. And all the praise I give the Sens is mostly from, like, I'm a subscriber to The Athletic, of course. So most of the stuff I get on the Sens is from her. Plus she went to Ryerson, so
Yes.
always
It's awesome.
always cool to see that.
Go Rams.
Go
We
Rams.
love you.
Exactly.
Right. Last episode we talked about we did the podcast at the end of day 1 of free agency. The big news, right as we recorded, was Torey Krug signing. Daniel, would you just like to have a quick second here, since you were unfortunately unable to join us, just to talk about some of the signings from that first day? Torey Krug, I'm assuming you want to talk about guys like Kevin Shattenkirk. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll start with Kevin Shattenkirk first. I always been kind of a fan of the guy, and the fact that he's been able to kind of resurrect, like his career in a way, and to get that contract with the Ducks, I think it kind of shows 2 ways where how much he's valued, like not just as a right hand shot and an offensive guy, but the fact that he went to the Ducks and they kind of spent like, my indication was, at first I was like, I don't know, because shouldn't Bob Murray be thinking about, let's go full youth? And they've hoarded so many prospects that now they kind of feel that, now is the time to kind of see where that goes. But I guess he thinks that they're further ahead than I personally thought they would. And when the one thing I saw with that was John Gibson, where it's a guy in his prime where he's a franchise goal you're not going to give up on. So I guess this is kind of a move to say, like, we're invested in the youth, we're invested in what, Trevor Zegras could do, Isaac Lundestrom could do, maybe Jamie Drysdale, and we'll figure out from there. And we could probably, like, ice a pretty competitive team. for the other signings, the Corey Krug one, I don't know. It made me feel like not the opposite. It's kind of the opposite because I think he's a fantastic player, but not at Alex Pietrangelo's level. But it reminded me of what I talked about before was Marian Hossa and Martin Havlat, where you don't know where the negotiations are going with one player, and then after that, it's like, okay, so listen, are you gonna sign or not? And then it's like, no, I'm not gonna sign. So like one guy replaces you, and then that causes a chain reaction, like that other big free agent going the other way. So like Krug going to St. Louis to replace Pietrangelo, and then Pietrangelo going to Vegas. So I think it was that kind of negotiation that really kind of affected in a way. Like they're two teams that could still be very competitive. Like it's something where I didn't really link the Blues with Torey Krug, to be honest. I was fully into Alex Pietrangelo coming back.
It makes Pietrangelo off guard, apparently. I felt like he got stung there, eh? And Krug, it's weird because it almost happened to Torey Krug too. We'll talk about that a little later as well. Man, poor not poor Alex. He just reached massive deal, and we'll talk about that a little later. As long more stuff on Torey Krug and his relationship with Boston, Vancouver, all that Markstrom stuff, getting Nate Schmidt, all to come. But I think we should very quickly, because we have a lot to get to.
Yeah.
The NBA, what a surprise, following in the footsteps of the NHL. They've completed their bubble experience in Disney, whatever.
Disney World.
0 tests. The Lakers are I almost said Stanley Cup champions, are NBA champions, guys. How
the
do
LA Kings
feel?
are NBA champions. No.
Stop it.
Why not?
I don't know.
Got the royal jerseys, Daniel.
The game 6, I don't know. Just game 5 was where it's at. Game 6 is just. It was.
Listen,
kind of
I'm no
Lambs to a
basketball
slaughter.
fan. I'm no basketball fan. Like I'm not big. I'm just not a big basketball fan. But that was ugly. That was ugly.
It was.
I saw the win out in the first or the second quarter. It was so lopsided. And I remember I did to the fourth quarter and saying like, "Oh, Jimmy Butler's got something to say about that," and then it was even worse.
He had 12 points.
Congratulations,
Jimmy.
LeBron.
Oh, Jimmy had 12 points.
Oh, Jimmy. Everyone giving the NBA credit when it's like the NHL kind of already did this too, but
Well,
they did it before it was cool.
Listen. They did the impossible. They did it in the middle of Florida.
Yeah.
That is true.
After the
And
McDonald's
only one
incident.
real incident. Yeah,
Mhm.
that and a player being accused of cheating on his wife. But messy situation with the NBA. Though, guys, a great way to open the show for me. The Canadiens, after thinking to do anything, did all the things. Phone keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah, your
If you-
microphone's it's been cutting in and out.
I thought you yelled into it
for a couple minutes. So we'll pause it. We can get that figured out. Yeah, whenever you're ready, Adam. We're back.
Yeah. So many. If you wonder what the technical difficulties that made this show start so late, maybe my microphone. But I figured it out. The one time the Habs do a lot of stuff, and it's not letting me talk about it. With the biggest news of the day, and that is Brendan Gallagher has re-signed with the Montreal Canadiens. It's a 6-year deal. The AAV is $6.5 million, and this right after his agent came out and said, "No, sorry. This came out and said that negotiations had broken apart." Now, for those of you who don't know, it's funny that most of the time when you see stuff released about the Habs themselves break it. Because they share that with Toronto and like the Islanders, that stuff doesn't get leaked.
Yeah.
So it was wild that it wasn't. I really believe it, that it was a negotiation tactic by Gallagher's camp. And right away, all of a sudden, they finish it up. Gallagher's got a video saying, "I'm so happy to be back," and it's back with Montreal. We'll talk about Toffoli and Jake Allen in a second here. We're really just Tyler Toffoli, guys. But the Habs, heart and soul of the team, their longest serving skater, and an assassin re-sign. I'll start with you, Alex. How do you like it? How do you like the deal, Brendan Gallagher?
I do like the deal. Like I'm not gonna bash the deal. I think 6.5 for 6 years, for someone of his quality, I think is a very fair deal. Actually, I think maybe not in the pandemic free agency market. I think in a regular market, he would have definitely fetched a bit more than that. I could imagine he would in the market get upwards of $7 million. But the reason I'm questioning this deal is how it sets up the future of the team. Because you just signed to Foley, who we'll get to, can play left and right wing. You have Josh Anderson, who you just signed, who plays an extremely similar game to Brendan Gallagher. You still have Jonathan Drouin. You still have Suzuki and Kotkaniemi, who are coming up as well. Plus, you have Caulfield, who's going to be in Montreal eventually. So at some point in the future, you're going to have someone making upwards of $4 million on the third line, which is a great problem to have. And I think by that time, the NHL economy will is going to figure itself out. It's not like it's going to be a cap dump for a third round pick or whatever. It's just, are you committed? It seems like you're very committed to this whole thing. And I feel like you're going to have to make moves to work around that.
Daniel.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just saw the breakdown now that it was reported by Pierre LeBrun, but it was apparently the source is Chris Johnson. That I didn't know in like 2024, 25. That's when I guess they gave Gallagher those money years. Well, he's getting $8 million and then $9 million for that term, yeah. And I kind of agree that in the open market for a player that he's become, that north of $7 million was going to be something that they had to kind of deal with. And yeah, I understand that what Alex said about the whole thing about these, the amount of money of what Montreal has spent the last few days has been pretty astounding to me. And it's something where I talked about before, where we asked you, Adam, where do you feel the Habs are going to be? What are they? And I think now they're fully into the idea that, they could compete. They could be a team that, is not really on the rise anymore, because they're getting a lot of guys in their prime that know how to play. They know how to kind of, know their niche on the team already. And what I kind of think is the way that center depth is developing, it's just something that it's an amazing mix of vets, core guys who are coming in, they want to win. They've been good locker room guys in the past. And then they have those young guys here and there who are just keep on building. What I liked about this were they were able to build a lot of depth and a lot more talent on this team. And, they didn't have to go all in. They didn't have to sacrifice prospects. They didn't have to sacrifice draft picks. And for what the price point they got on these guys, I think it's pretty amazing. The Tyler Toffoli one, I thought he was getting $6 million a year by Vancouver.
Man, we'll talk about Vancouver losing. Yeah, honestly, again, I've said on the times, I started watching hockey in 2014. This is easily probably the best Habs team on paper that I have ever seen. Your right of your offense consists of Anderson, Gallagher, Toffoli, and Yoel Armia is on the fourth line.
Right.
And then the left side is a mix of Tatar, Drouin, Kinnan, and then Paul Byron, who is a bit overpaid and he needs to get traded pretty soon. But him on your fourth line, him and Armia are both guys that are capable of 20 goals. And then Leonard,
right.
I love that fourth line. I don't know why. Something. Oh, go on. Just something about the quality of that fourth line. You know what?
It's cutting it in out.
It could end up being is it? My God.
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every once in a while.
Jesus
or it's
Christ.
just me. I don't know if
it's... sorry. I thought I was interrupting too much.
No, Dan, but do you hear? Is it just me?
I thought Adam was Because I thought he was stopping purposely, but yeah, I can hear it too. Yeah,
Okay.
where like I could see your lips move, but I don't hear anything.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I can add something as Adam's trying to figure it out. Unless Daniel, you had something to say.
All I kind of just said was like the quality of that fourth line,
Right.
Paul Byron and Yoel Armia.
And then whoever
You know,
is the center.
Yeah, I think it's arguably better than and cheaper than what the Islanders are fielding right now with that fourth line.
Don't talk bad about them, okay? You're not allowed.
All right.
The Lube
Is
Mob.
that sounding any better?
Yeah, it's not the sound. It was just cutting. It cuts in and out. I can't predict it. It just kind of happens.
Okay. Well,
If it gets
I do
bad,
not
I'll
know
bring
what
it
to
up.
do.
That's okay. If it gets bad,
Okay.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah. You know, I had a quick sort of
Oh,
just
there
cut
we
out.
go.
Didn't.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
I'll go. I'll talk quickly.
I'm just gonna use my max mic. Whatever.
Yeah.
I
No
can't.
worries.
All right. So what I quickly put together myself was like, you know, the fourth line center for this team is probably going to be Jake Evans, and a fourth line, could be Armia or Byron down there, or hell, you can put Lehkonen down there. I mean, if you want to move up Byron for the speed and that. But quickly going to Toffoli, he also, this came out of nowhere. I dropped something. I'm sorry. I think I told this to Alex and Mike, but I didn't say this to you, Daniel. I can say this on the show. Hopefully my brother's girlfriend is not listening to this. If you are, Janine, turn it off. My brother, when the Toffoli signing happened, was announced, he was on the phone with us because he was asking for the blessing to propose to his girlfriend from her parents, and why he's telling us about everything, like how they had said yes. I opened Twitter by mistake and I saw the Toffoli signing, and I got in a bit of trouble because I was so excited about it. Meanwhile, my brother is just being like, "Oh yeah, I can propose to my girlfriend."
Yeah, by mistake.
He signs for 4 years, 4.25 a year. He signs for.
They said my brother plans in 4 years. I'm like, okay.
What?
Two different stories going on there.
Yeah. Sorry. So, yes, Tyler Toffoli signs with the Montreal Canadiens. He needed scoring. Josh Anderson was not enough, but they get Tyler Toffoli, who has scored between either 20 or 31 goals once. The only time he has it was either shortened season because of injury or whatever, or because he had to play on the LA Kings and they were garbage for a season. So this has been another addition to the right side of the Canadiens. Your guys is sort of feeling on Toffoli. Big name.
Yeah. 28. Again, middle loaded contract. I think he fits what the team needs, right? He adds that needed depth that we've talked about for a while. He does have that scoring touch if they need it. Now, I don't know if you did your own line projections, right? Am I Adam?
Yeah, you're cutting out. You're cutting out, Alex.
Oh, am I cutting out? Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna try something. 2, 1. Sorry, I cut out, and it's a great night for technical problems. Apparently. Like I was saying, before, it's a really good pickup for the Canadiens. I think he brings the grit and he brings a scoring touch, which I think both are what the team kind of need. I had daily face-off. I went on daily face-off. They had Toffoli next to Suzuki and Anderson on the second line. So my understanding is Toffoli can play both the left and the right, which I guess is good for them. I don't exactly know what, Adam, you were thinking, where Toffoli would slot in the lineup.
I actually had him on the second line with Suzuki and Drouin, and I moved Anderson down with Kotkaniemi.
Right.
But, I think you can go with any combination.
Yeah. So I mean, just based on these two signings alone, the first thought that came to my mind, and it really came to my mind when you texted me that Gallagher re-signed or sent a Twitter message, whatever you did. In my mind, this re-signing, Tatar's not coming back. And I think we kind of knew that before. And I don't think Deneau's coming back either.
Really? Why not Phil Deneau?
Well, first off, apparently he wasn't happy with the minutes, right?
All right. Okay.
Or is that
he's gonna be
changed?
back on the top line to start the season. That was good.
Okay, right. But
Yeah.
that happened, right? Let's be
but
clear.
Six
I
games
understand.
of a playoff round
I
isn't gonna
understand.
affect that.
I understand. But now
Yeah.
they're still going to have 48 or 60, whatever, 2 games. You're going to, how long, we've had the discussions. What is Philip Deneau going to make on his next contract?
6.5.
No.
He's a center.
No. If Radek Faksa only got 3.5, then
I don't know.
So how much does he? So how much he makes $3 million now? What does Phil Deneau make on his next contract?
I'm saying, what did Pajot sign for? 5?
5.
5? Around there.
So we're assuming within the next year or two, Philip Deneau is going to be your third line center, right? Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are going to be your first, second line centers. You can't have a third, and New York's going to figure this out eventually. You can't have a $5 million player as your third line center.
What's really funny is before this podcast, we were having this discussion, and I thought we were going to talk about this later because I was not ready for this. And now I am in the middle of doing. Listen, is it? I don't know.
I'm not saying you trade him.
You have to. No, God, no.
Right?
You do not do that.
But I think you can. I think, and I saw it happen in Toronto that both Lou and Dubas got crapped on for letting JVR, for letting Bozak, and a couple other guys walk right to free agency.
Komarov.
No questions asked. Komarov, right.
Yeah.
But you have to think about it for the future. In this case scenario, you're not going to pay Philip Deneau $5 million on a longer term contract when you know in a year or two, he's going to be a third line center. So I think we knew Tatar was gone, right? We've had that discussion before.
Yes.
I think a couple episodes
Reclamation
ago.
prize from the Vegas Golden Knights.
Right. And I think great what he did in Montreal and great what Montreal did for him. But if you know you're going to be a third line, he's going to be your third line center. I can't imagine any world where your goalie's making 10.5 and other things considered, other guys have to get paid eventually, right? I don't think it's viable to on any team. This isn't Montreal specific. This is Toronto, Anaheim, the Rangers, the Islanders, whoever. Your third line center should not be making $5 million.
I know he's not. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
I know he's not there, but I just thought Brandon Sutter.
Don't. Gallagher is better than Brandon. I mean,
I don't know. Just the comparable in terms of the money.
I think one thing, if it does happen, if they do end up going with that decision, if they're to make it work, Jonathan Drouin's gone. Even that, I think this could be his last season if he doesn't fully prove it. We can touch on it quickly. The Canadiens, you need a second goalie, obviously, exposed for the expansion draft that is happening next season with the 2021, 2022. Yeah. Got it all mixed up. And before that, the Canadiens have extended Jake Allen. No one thought this is going to come to a 2-year deal. He gets $2.875 per season. Daniel, shit, I swore I got to. Hopefully the poor mic quality didn't pick that up. But Alex, I'll start with you here. Allen, 2 years. He has not played a game, as you rightfully pointed out earlier, for the Montreal Canadiens, but they have gone with this extension.
I understand why they did it, but I don't necessarily understand why they did it. Right. Like I point out, he hasn't played a game and, yes, last year he was really good. The year before that, he was okay. Like that's why Binnington ended up becoming Binnington because Jake Allen wasn't good. And I'm not saying that's what's going to be the case next year. I literally have no idea what to expect from Jake Allen next year. That's why I'm a bit weary of the contract. And I know you can go out and you can trade it. And obviously in this case, I think if you get pennies on the dollar for him, it really doesn't matter. Which you're going to get pennies on the dollar for him. Just even if next season Seattle doesn't take him and you want to trade him, Primo's ready, you're going to get pennies. It's just the current market we live in. Ryan Murray went for a 5th round pick. Marcus Nuivar went for Cliff Poo, who I haven't heard from since he got traded for Jeff Skinner, right? So I understand why they did it. I don't necessarily agree with it.
You're muted.
I think you're muted.
Whoops. Daniel, we do know Kid Primo was the goalie for the Americans in the World Juniors. Yeah. So another part of the deal, obviously, is if he doesn't get claimed, Jake Allen by Seattle, that maybe Allen could be used to like just because, of course, Primo's only 21. That you over-ripen him as a goalie.
Yeah, I think that's probably the perfect situation for them to do it. I don't think that in what they have right now or what they would want to do with their prospects, they wouldn't want to rush Caden Primo. I know he's played already a few games here and there, but what I kind of felt with the Jake Allen signing was I think it just what his character is. It kind of just speaks volume of how this deal went down, like what everyone kind of talked about, where, the rumblings in the St. Louis locker room, they didn't really like that he got traded, that he was a high character guy. He was someone that, once he lost the starting position, he was like fully on supporting Jordan Binnington throughout their Stanley Cup run. And what I feel now, what they get with Jake Allen is he's in a situation where it's just perfectly catered to him. As much as I like the guy, he's not a starter. He's not someone that the Blues, I don't think, could have won with, like, I know he had like the odd playoff games here and there this year, but for what he's probably going to be capped at, where he's probably going to play like 30 or more games, that's just something perfect for him. And for where his age is and for the cap that they got, I think that, finally they got something that is going to really help Carey Price through these next few years. That it's something that it just speaks stability. What we talked about before with the wingers, with the defensemen they've been bringing in, it just speaks volumes to, like, this is a team that's more balanced. Like, there's not a lot of glaring holes on this team anymore. Like, I may argue that, maybe not right now, they don't have a true superstar offensively, but it doesn't really matter for me at this point because of the quality that's just already there.
By the way, if they miss this year, Bergevin's gone. Like, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall, I'm still yelling it's Buffalo to this day. Taylor Hall signs a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Sabres for $8 million, fellas. I started with Alex last time. I'll start here with you, Daniel. Why?
This reminds me of
Why?
I mean, like, a lot of this reminds me of, like, okay, so I'll use a basketball reference where newly NBA champion Rajon Rondo did this as well. He's not the level, I think, of Taylor Hall. He's never won an MVP, but he's been an all-star. But he's a guy that, he came in and he was considered, like, like one of the premier pass first point guards, but then, like, he kind of fell out of favor with a lot of teams, especially the Dallas Mavericks. And he's a guy that, for a few years, he kept taking these, like, show me contracts that eventually, like, he landed long-term with a team that he wanted to win with, and that was the LA Lakers. What I find with Taylor Hall is I'll give you the serious one, then I'll give you the comical comparison. But the more serious one is, like, this is a guy that I don't think he got the deals he really wanted or the cap hit he wanted. And he went to a team that was willing to take a chance on him. And whether or not that works out, maybe great. I thought of Jeff Skinner in this situation, but I think Taylor Hall had to curb his expectations of what he was going to get on the open market, especially with this flat cap, especially with, he had a pretty down season with the Coyotes and, like, I guess split with the Devils. And he really is at a point now where, like, he should be in his prime and stop having these up and downs so much if he wants to be considered a star. So I think now he just realized I need to really give it a year to, to showcase myself again, to show that, I'm not going to just be a guy long term that will give you an MVP season, then like completely disappear for a year and a half afterwards. And my comical one is, this reminds me of an NHL video game signing where, sometimes the big free agent people stay on for too long in free agency.
Yeah.
And then they take on like this really random 1 year deal with like a team that doesn't even like they would sign 2 goalies to like max deals. Like it just reminded me of that or something.
I always see Alex Pietrangelo do that in NHL 20. Every time.
Curbing expectations. Playing in Buffalo might curb his enthusiasm as well. Hello, Ryan O'Reilly. Alex, your thoughts on this?
So I looked at it from 2 standpoints, and I think it's important to look at it from 2 standpoints in this case. From the team, I don't necessarily see the major upside for the team. Now they have a good top 6, and I think Adam sent me the picture. It was Hall, Eichel, Olofsson, Skinner, Stahl, Reinhart, who they still have to sign, which is quite a good top 6 if those guys actually play. If Skinner actually plays well, and Hall plays well, and Olofsson continues, et cetera, et cetera. But their bottom 6 is so bloody below average. And I know, I think the name that Adam brought up was Tobias Reeder. That's just not good enough. That to me, that's not like, it's Tobias Reeder. I don't remember the center. It's just, you look on Daily Faceoff, it's all below average.
I kind of like the Cody Eakin signing. Like
that's who it is, Cody Eakin.
Yeah, he was pretty decent as like a bottom 6 center. I know it was 2.85 is a bit pricey for what he brings, but I thought it was something that it was a bit of a stabilizing signing.
Right. Okay, fine. But I still think their bottom 6 is below average, and I don't think they fixed their goaltending issue. They have Linus Ullmark, who they still have to resign, but I'm sorry, Carter Hunt is not good.
No.
You think with the money they used on Eakin, you should have probably thrown that at like Cam Talbot or Thomas
anybody.
Price.
Jimmy Howard.
Won
2 games last year.
You know what surprised me? They gave Zesmus Gurdensson over $2 million to be like their 4th line winger.
I don't understand. The only upside I see from bringing Taylor Hall in on a 1-year deal is if we get and I think we're gonna, like, if we see NHL hockey again, we're gonna see fans in the stands. I think that it's the only way some teams are actually gonna survive. They need some brand, like they need some excitement, because that city has been, and I think Buffalo fans will admit to this, have been a literal nightmare for since the offseason. Jason Pagula gets fired, or not Pagula, Jason Botterill gets fired after being praised. Like the team, Dwayne, like that guy went off. Right. So from a team standpoint, I don't see a lot of reasons. From a player standpoint, though, it makes sense, kind of. And I'll say why. Number 1, he gets to play with the best center he's ever played with. I don't know if he got a lot of playing time with Connor McDavid because McDavid was injured his only year in Edmonton, with the 2 of them together.
This was like Yakupov. McDavid was like Yakupov and Benoit Pouliot.
Oh, good. So they still haven't figured that out. Okay.
Paul and Eberle went on the second line.
Oh, okay. If you listen to him on Hockey Central, when they asked him who the perfect center for Taylor Hall is, he literally described Jack Eichel, a right-handed center who can pass and score goals. Right, and that's literally Jack Eichel. So this is what. Pardon?
It means no more excuses for Taylor Hall.
No more excuses for Taylor Hall. And you know what's going to happen? And this is the second time they're going to get into this situation. He's going to put up major points next to Jack Eichel, because anyone next to Jack Eichel will do that. And he's going to get paid, whether it's by the Buffalo Sabres, whether it's by whoever. Jeff Skinner did it, man. The guy's got a $9 million contract.
You know, also did it.
Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
Alex Semin on the Carolina Hurricanes. He had like an insane point per game season. Then Jim Rutherford at the time gave him $7 million a year for 7 years, and then he bought him out the next year.
Alexander Semin, that is a name.
That's a name.
Yeah.
That's
legend.
like that. Yeah, you reminded me of that the other day. How you managed to sneak in 2 Alex Semin references in a few weeks is amazing to me.
Thank you.
Like really, like, well, bravo, my man. Torey Krug, we know he signed with the St. Louis Blues. To many surprises, but maybe a bigger surprise is just how little communication apparently that himself and the Bruins had. Apparently, last year, there was the initial like 6x6 whatever contract was offered. The Krug camp then came back, said, "What about a deal? Details we don't know." The Bruins said no. There wasn't any communication. Apparently, Krug's camp went back in the months following. Bruins didn't say anything. And then apparently that same original offer was pulled back. And you could see it with the tweets between Pasternak and Krug. He really didn't want to leave.
No.
Like that, they did him dirty. They did that poor man dirty. Why, Daniel? Why?
I think it's just what we kind of talked about before, where that Bruins team mentality, where it's like, hey, so we're bringing the band back together, so you better sign this right now, for the good of the team, right? But I think he wanted to explore his options, and then suddenly when the Bruins are like, okay, we're taking away the offer, that we're not kind of gonna go with this, like that was kind of upsetting for me, because what I kind of felt is, I know Torey Krug's 29, but when with the exception of, like they've talked about before, the exception of like Pasternak and I guess Brad Marchand to a certain extent, like what I see with this team and like or Charlie McAvoy is that a lot of the other significant pieces are getting older. That Bergeron's been injured. I know he's like aging like a fine wine though, but like David Krejci has really lost a step. You're probably not going to bring back Zdeno Chara. Tuukka Rask, he's been good, but this guy's kind of getting up in age as well. And what I kind of saw with Torey Krug is he was going to be that bridge of the future. He was going to be a guy that, once the Bruins for somehow have so many prospects coming up, that he was going to be that bridge where, we're going to see this model of consistency that they didn't have to tear everything down. And if you have someone like Pasternak, you have someone like McAvoy, you don't do that with this team because those guys are already building blocks. So from the Bruins perspective, I really thought it was kind of unfortunate the way they kind of dealt with that, because like, to be honest, I really see their window, 2-3 more years?
I think they know that too.
I'd say 2, but
yeah.
You really think that Char is gone? You don't think they're bringing him back?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, it's a bit mum on that.
Even if they bring him back, he's not the same Zdeno Chara. He's 43 years old.
I do wonder, because I remember I said on the show, I thought that Dallas were insane to give Pavelski that contract. But San Jose, you can say what you want about goaltending. That team apparently internally fell apart when they lost Pavelski. And if you lose Krug, like you're going to fill it out on the score sheet. But losing Chara at the same time when all this noise coming about them just not even giving Krug anything,
right?
That's got to take a hit on morale, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Sorry, before going on, I just found that kind of like not funny, but like it was kind of weird that they fell apart, like reportedly after Joe Pavelski left, because they still had Marleau and Thornton on that team, who were 2 captains before before Joe Pavelski became the team captain.
Stripped of it.
I know. Both of them stripped of it.
Yeah. Go on, Alex. What were you saying?
The thing about Chara is, even if you bring Chara back, and I think we saw it this year more than we did the year before, his age is showing, man. Like, this is just a reality. He's 43. The same thing happened with Jágr. His age eventually started to show. So you bring Chara back. How long is he going to be able to handle the top four minutes? then you still need to fill Torey Krug's minutes. Who in your AHL is going to come up? So we know Matt Grzelcyk, who they still have to re-sign, and Zdeno Chara. Let's assume they come back. They still need another person who can play on the left side.
Jakub Zboril,
who they just, I think, re-signed to an extension.
Yeah.
The defensive market is not as strong. It is like insignificant. The biggest names are Travis Hamonic and Sami Vatanen.
That'd be crazy. Both of them went there. I could see both of them fitting in there.
Yeah, but they're both right. No, Vatanen does play on the left. Sometimes.
Yeah, Vatanen can play on the left.
But he's a natural right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
So it's quite weak.
You know what I felt about this? Because I've been thinking about this like the last 10 years with Zdeno Chara's age. When is Patrice Bergeron ever going to get the chance to be a captain?
Never.
Probably never.
Never. You just feel bad for him. That's kind of like Malkin. Like Malkin's never going to get it.
No.
Right.
Absolutely not.
And that's just like that thing where like, because I remember Chris Pronger was like the captain of the Ducks for like 6 months because Scott Niedermayer's like, I don't know if I'm coming back. And then when Scott Niedermayer came back, he's like, all right, well, he's the captain now, not Chris Pronger anymore. Or when because Jaromir Jagr was the captain on 2 occasions as captain for the Penguins when Mario Lemieux retired those 2 times. Just remember that.
Those 2 times. We're just talking about defensemen now. Well, they lost more than defense. Vancouver have had a rough couple of days. They lost Jacob Markstrom to a divisional rival. We talked about Calgary already, though. They also, to Calgary, lost Chris Tanev. 4 years, he gets $4.5 million there. Though, when they obviously lost to Foley. They did get Nate Schmidt.
They lost someone else. They lost Troy Stetcher.
Oh, yeah.
Such an underrated, like, that was something I think, like Harmon even said that they should try to keep him.
We will get to him later because he went to Detroit and they did some smart little moves. But anyway, amongst it all, they were very lucky. Friedman made the joke that Vancouver was burning down until they got Nate Schmidt.
Yeah.
Because oh boy, it will look bad. He has a decently sized ticket too.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He makes just under $6 million.
That's the definition of a stabilizing trade. I think like they had to do something to like stop the bleeding.
Okay, let me just hear me out for a second because I think I'd be one of the first people to jump on GMs for not doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really easy to criticize Jim Benning, and I think we've seen it on Twitter a lot for not being able to dump cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what he's getting criticized for. Let's not pretend that the players he's trying to dump are the same players that other teams are trying to dump, right? So some examples of who were dumped. Nate Schmidt, third round pick. Paul Stastny, Carl Darstrom, and a 4th, I think. Ryan Murray was a 5th, and Marcus Nudivara was Cliff Poo. So whatever, like not a very good prospect. Only exception to this would be Eric Goodbranson, who was also traded for a 5th. All the guys I listed, except Eric Goodbranson, were good or semi good to good players. Nate Schmidt, good. Paul Stastny is aging. I still think he's good.
He's good. Situation.
Ryan Murray, injury issues, but still a good, like everywhere I've read is saying he's a very good player. And I think pardon?
Stable day.
Yeah. And Marcus Nudivara, Daniel absolutely loves this guy. The players that Jim Benning is trying to dump are nowhere near the players like that. Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, Sven Berchi, who no one wanted in a clear no pandemic market, Louis Eriksson, and Brandon Sutter.
Mm-hmm. Not great.
No
names.
one wanted Tyler Johnson. No one wanted Marc-Andre Fleury for less than a first-round pick.
It says, remember on this show, we went through all three of those guys' point totals at the end of the playoffs. It was just disastrous. I mean, again, if you can't trade legitimate players with talent like Tyler Johnson, you're damn right Lou Erickson is not going anywhere.
Right.
Do you guys have a quick thought on Chris Tanev and Calgary, that little match? Because they lost Brody. Doesn't look like Hamnick's going back. But they get say what you want about his underlying numbers. Seems like a really liked guy in the locker room, and he can log minutes.
I mean, he also played really well next to Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is kind of easy to do. But
yeah,
I think at the end of the day, Benning saved himself from not signing both of those extensions.
Mm-hmm. Daniel.
Yeah, I think so too. That I don't know. It's just like what Alex talked about, like the evolution of Jim Benning throughout the years, where when we talk about these, like he's the one who kind of put himself in this situation, all these signings and all these crazy drafts. Like I'm not saying that he might prove me wrong, but like Oli Levy might prove me wrong next year or something.
Right.
But it's just a lot of these moves. It just recently, I think that he's kind of saved his bacon right now. But yeah, a lot of these moves have been because of Jim Benning. Like he gave up assets for Erica Branson. He, took Jake Virtanen in 6th, where, he's still a good player, but, who, like a lot of the guys who we look at now who've become like, consistent producers after him in that draft. And I think, Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes has really saved him.
Yeah.
But the way I see the Canucks too is just, I don't know. It's like, I think maybe I'm just a bit more cynical with this. Where like, yeah, maybe he saved himself this summer, but it's just kind of been a thing where like, you kind of have to do these, affirmative moves now because of what you've kind of made into Vancouver. Like what's going to happen for them cap wise in the next like year or two.
And just before we move on, like the forward market, UFA market is a lot different than the defense market right now. Like I think there's still quite a bit, like there's quite a few guys out there because there was a lot of guys not qualified that teams could scoop up.
Hold off on that. I have that later in the show.
Okay.
Just to look at who's still left.
Yeah. No worries.
And they still have to sign Jake Virtanen, by the way.
Right.
By the way, back off Vancouver. He's nothing close to Brendan Gallagher. Go away with that trade speculation. No. Man, I'll tell you who's making moves. Colorado. They few re-signs here. Andrei Burakovsky. I thought this may have been a bit of a trouble negotiation. Boy, was I wrong. 2 years, $4.9 million per. Ryan Graves, 3 years, $3.166667 per. And Valery Nichushkin, 2 years, $2.5 million per. We'll get to Zadorov in a second because that will go to Chicago there.
Yeah.
But fellas, a good couple of moves and all very fair deals for Colorado, who really did not need any more of those. Joe Sakic.
Yes, we applaud you.
Well done, Joe. Well done. Fellow GM, it's Joe. No, I don't want. No, go away, Joe.
I'll never understand why he wasn't GM of the year.
No. Who Lou got it?
Yeah, Lou Morello.
Oh, you know who I don't have on this? They got Devon Taves.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
For quite a steal. Wow.
Devon Taves for 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
For nothing. That's
pretty
nothing
low
for
second-round
Colorado.
picks.
Yeah.
That too, hopefully. Well, not whatever.
Okay.
Daniel, do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
I'll go. Like,
okay.
This is already an exciting team that we got to see, that, we really, Adam especially chose them coming out of the West. And, it's kind of speaks volumes to the fact that, they're not satisfied at where they were. They wanted to keep adding, and they were very smart about it in terms of the cap, in terms of the assets. They had to move. Like the 2 seconds was a steal, and it's like that thing where you lose one player and then you replace him with another guy that I personally think like Devon Taves, he fits that system a lot better than I'm trying to like not to like with Zadorov like being shipped off. And we've talked about before, like I think we talked about this a year and a half ago in the summer where, they have that amazing first line that we've seen it break up here and there, but Nemestikov when Vladislav Nemestikov was there. But what we've seen now is like that depth they have aside from the McKinnon line that they keep on adding, and they're not a team at all that's cap crunched or gave up the assets. Like we're still waiting for Alex Newhook and Martin Kaut to really like break in, or Bowen Byram or Connor Timmins on that defense. Like their goalies are another thing, but like I'm just gonna praise them for the positives that are there right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Alex.
They have a very what they're doing is very interesting, and if we'll start on the back end here, just bringing in Devin Taves and re-signing Ryan Graves, I think that's I think I did some research. Ryan Graves spent most of his time playing alongside three players: Cale Makar 491 minutes, Sam Girard 137, and the former Avalanche Nikita Zadorov for 90 minutes. I mean, if you can get a partner to play with Cale Makar and you just know that's the guy you're playing, I think you're absolutely set. And I think the fact that they were able to get that in Ryan Graves at $3 million is a pretty good deal. Getting Devin Taves for 2 seconds, whatever you're going to have to sign him to, it's really not going to be that much of an issue. And right now, Daily Faceoff has him on the third pair alongside Ian Cole. And I mean, like Daniel was saying, Connor Timmins could come up. We don't know what Bowen Byram will look like next year. So I think their D is pretty damn like clicked. Like we know what it's going to be, and there's still pieces that aren't maybe ready yet. Their forward core is insane. Like Valerie Nichushkin, who's making 2.5 right now, is slotted on their third line. And I mean, fourth line, sorry, on Daily Faceoff. So, I mean, he had 27 points last year. And right now, I think I see him more as a bottom six guy. I think maybe I think he's a third line guy. He could be alongside, I don't know, JT Compher and Tyson Yost or whoever that may be. And with Burakovsky, I mean, I think he really had kind of like a bounce back year he's only 25, but 45 points in 58 games. And I think he's a really good middle six guy. And this year, I think he spent most of his time on the third line, but he did make that jump to the second line when there was all those injuries. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the second line this year next to Brandon Saad and Nazem Kadri.
Mm-hmm. You guys know how big a fan I am of Ryan Graves.
Yeah.
I know we go back and forth with this stat. He did lead the league in plus minus.
Yeah.
And you know what? Cale Makar, I love the guy. More well known for his offensive ability. Burakovsky, without injuries, obviously a factor, was second in scoring for the Islanders. I really like that player. And I really like that sort of bridge for him. And I don't have much to say about Valery Nichushkin because I can never, let go of how big a star he was supposed to be in Dallas. Or the video of him, Ben and Sagan at Christmas, and Tyler Sagan just couldn't say his name and he kept laughing. Look at that, people. So yeah, we talked about Zadorov, but finally he gets shipped out and he gets sent to Chicago. And the Blackhawks have now lost 2 Brandon Saad trades. They do retain $1 million of his deal. He has 1 year left, so the Avalanche will be getting his services for $5 million. Not bad, guys, but this probably if the core there wanted Saad back the first time, I don't imagine how happy they are now that they've lost Crawford and Saad again. And Mark Lazarus of the Athletic had an article where I'll just kind of paraphrase Jonathan Taves saying, "Apparently we're in a rebuild. No one told me." The Blackhawks core are not happy.
Sorry,
Alex.
What? You didn't know you were in a rebuild? Listen, I was in a grouchy mood when I first read it, right? And Adam got the brunt of it.
Yes.
But to say you don't know your team's in a rebuild, look around you.
See, I cannot believe that Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane didn't know what was going on? Or was Bowman really trying to sell to them? Is he only really starting the rebuild now? I mean,
Yes,
Jonathan Toews is not an idiot.
no,
Or
he's
sorry,
not. He's not.
officially starting the like.
Did you you read the
Jonathan-
article, right?
Yes.
So you would have seen, like, you saw the quote. John McDonough would never sign off on a full teardown. And the players felt they were making strides toward contention with an influx of young talent. But with McDonough fired during the pause and interim president Danny Wirtz bringing a fresh set of eyes and potentially looking at a season with few fans in the stands anyways, the rebuild apparently got the green light.
How did you? With everything with Robin Leonard, because they would only give him a 1 year, $3 million deal. I think Friedman saw on 31 Thoughts, the podcast. The blog came out today. I mean, I understand if the Blackhawks core feel like that they have not been communicated with very well, that's their prerogative. Because at the end of the day, this was kind of, there's broken telephone going on here. I do think you have a very big obligation to those two, because they literally turned your entire franchise around and built the Blackhawks into what they are. But come on, Jonathan, Patrick, did you not see where you were? I mean, come on.
If you didn't notice, as soon as you scored 0 goals or 1 goal. How many goals did they score against Nashville?
I think it's 3.
Pekka Rinne had more points than most of the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
When that happens and your GM Artemi Panarin for Brandon Saad, you tell me where you're at. I thought it was pretty obvious, and I'm just some guy on the outside.
Way I kind of see it is, I think the team was kind of misguided the last 2 years, because they had that whole thing where they were still pretty good, but they weren't winning when they kept bringing the band back together, right?
Yes.
Like Saad, and then they got back Andrew Ladd, and then they brought back Patrick Sharp, and then Johnny Oduya. They tried to bring back the 2015 team right there, and I think maybe Jonathan Toews kind of viewed it where, okay, the one thing, where I feel like he kind of viewed it was, okay, we got the top pick. Like, I think for me, when they got Kirby Dach 3rd overall, that's when I kind of felt like, okay, yeah, this is clearly not a team that's gonna turn things around. But then remember that summer, what ends up happening is Stan Bowman goes off and he starts spending again for the first time in a while. Like, they get Calvin DeHaan, they get Ali Mata, and I know these are not like, the marquee type of names, but these are guys that you bring in to try to fill quote unquote deficiencies here and there. And I think that's what maybe the team kind of bought into, where, okay, suddenly, we're not a team that, we're not just banking on the Adam Boquist. We're not banking on the Kirby Dach. We're looking to find certain pieces in the market, and it clearly did not work. Like when they got Robin Leonard, I think maybe that was a signal to Jonathan Toews, to Patrick Kane, that, hey, we're trying to do something. And this, where at the time was a good signing, but yeah, when they traded him, eventually it's like Stan Bowman, folding again, like in less than a year. So I think maybe that there was that sense of hopefulness before COVID.
When you're trying to fill deficiencies with Calvin DeHaan, Oli Mata, Slater Cuckoo, sorry, like, I'm just some guy who has a podcast, and I see that they're in a rebuild. Like, it's nothing against Jonathan Toews. I bet he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
how do you but how do you not see that?
Because one thing we didn't even talk about either was the Nick Schmaltz trade, where, like, I think that was kind of a signal too, where you're kind of trading a young guy, but at the same time you're trying to recoup more assets for him, like younger assets.
See, I thought that was it was similar to what Montreal and Arizona did in switching young assets and saying both these guys kind of need a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I saw it as, and that happens often. Like, I guess I can't get over the fact and I understand why the players are upset. And I partially agree with, they deserve to know if they're in a rebuild. But man, to say you're coming back with this team where half your core is on one leg, like Brent Seabrook has been out the last how many years with injuries. Duncan Keith, while he is still a good player, is not close to what Duncan Keith was during those cup runs.
You know what this reminds me of? I just remembered it. So this is when Tampa was like more than probably 70% of their payroll was going to Vincent Lecavalier, Brad Richards, those two guys, and Martin St. Louis, where these were technically guys who were all stars. Like St. Louis was he was a superstar, but at the same time, like they were also still losing and refusing to trade these guys. So I think gradually, like you got lucky, you got Stamkos, you got Hedman, and then you got Kucherov in the second round, but it's like, I never saw Vincent Lecavalier come out and say, hey, we're in a I didn't know we were in a rebuild when we got Steven Stamkos first overall or something. And, unfortunately the Blackhawks don't have that luxury, but it's just the same instance where it's a team in decline that they don't kind of realize that, the writing's on the wall.
Right. And you know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of Detroit, scratching and clawing it, saying we need to make the playoffs so we can extend our streak. We need to keep making the playoffs. We need, like, it was like, we'd have to do this until you realize, like, you have to open your eyes and say, hey, our team is not good enough. Maybe we need either a rebuild or a retool. And I think Montreal got really lucky in saying, hey, we can do this retool perfectly. Weber, Price, we got literally the two of the most important positions filled. Your draft, you can draft. I mean, maybe not the recent first round picks, like going back a few years, not the greatest, but otherwise.
Turn into in the Habs.
Pardon?
But yeah. How did this turn into?
No. I'm saying you need to realize when you're in. You need to either rebuild or retool. And the fact that they still haven't figured it out, or at least the players haven't, is quite frightening.
You mentioned Detroit. There was a very, very good video by a guy named Urinating Tree. Me and Dan Mike have mentioned it before. It's called Detroit.
That name always gets to me. Sorry.
So he made a video called Fall of the Empire, and he goes through kind of Detroit scratching and clawing those last few years. I encourage listeners to go check it out.
Yeah.
Like giving up a first-round pick for Kyle Quincy that turned into Andre Vasilevsky. Wait, what? But hey, they're on the up and up. Last year they were. Oh my God, my dogs. See, that's how they feel. They're like, Chicago, what are you doing? Anyway, Detroit won't be a dumpster fire next year. They won't be great, but they do a couple of smart moves here. Thomas Greiss, an upgrade on Jimmy Howard, 2 years, 3.6 per. Troy Stecher, we mentioned, a really good deal, 2 years, 1.7 per. And Vladislav Nemestikov, 2 years, $2 million per. And our boy Bobby Ryan for $1 million.
My boy.
I
love it.
You do?
I love Bobby Ryan.
What Bobby Ryan? Not Thomas Greiss. It's just you love Bobby Ryan, and that's
Wait, what team did Bobby Ryan play for?
Ottawa Senators.
No, before that. I forgot.
The Owen Sound Attack.
Really? Played no one sound, eh?
Okay.
Who did he play for in the GTHL, Daniel?
We gotta ask Mike about that one.
He was a Duck. That's what we're going for. But no, you know what, Daniel, you're laughing. I mean, what does in all seriousness Bobby Ryan bring to that lineup?
It's a guy that I think wants to play. Like, he has that determination to show that he could still be, an amazing player. And I think he didn't really have the chance in Ottawa. I know the injuries were here and there, and I think it's just coming. I think, what I kind of see it is that he's just rejuvenated now. He's going on, a show me deal of $1 million a year to a team that is lacking a lot of offensive output. And what we've seen with Bobby Ryan is that in bursts, he's not gonna be that guy that we all loved in the 2010, 2011s, but he is someone that still could, not necessarily anchor his own lineup, but he could still offer a lot of contributions to it. Like the shot is still there. Like the skating might not be the same, but the shot is still there. Like the effect he's kind of had on a team is still there. Like I said before, like I think when he was bought out, Brady Tkachuk came out, Josh Norris came out, and they said, this was a veteran guy that helped us grow on the lineup, and it's because it's a guy that they felt like they could emulate and relate to him because those two young guys for the Sens grew up watching him for USA Hockey, and then suddenly they have him in the lineup and they say, this is a guy that's trying to help us through the ropes, trying to help us get to where we need to go. And I'm thinking of a Dylan Larkin right now who could really benefit from that.
That's a good point. Alex, what do you think of some of these moves here?
I think, like you said, you kind of put perfectly. They're not going to be a dumpster fire, but they're still going to be garbage. And I mean that in a nice way, obviously. They brought in some guys, I mean, kind of with the exception of Vladislav Nemestikov and Troy Stetcher. They brought in this offseason some guys with a lot of leadership. Bobby Ryan, or experience. I don't know what they're like as leaders, but just in terms of experience. Bobby Ryan, lots of experience. Mark Stahl, who they got, acquired a second, and I don't even remember what they gave up. I think it was future considerations. That guy's got loads of experience. Same with John Merrill, who I believe was, I don't remember if he was on that Vegas squad. He might have been.
He was,
and Tampa
like
as well.
Defenseman.
Right, and I think he was originally on Tampa. That guy, lots of experience, and Thomas Greiss, who I think him and Bernier, I mean, they're not the worst tandem, but they're not the best. I think they're interesting moves for both teams.
I have to say a fun
Or
fact
for
before
this
we move
team,
on,
sorry.
just
Yeah,
for
what?
Adam, but we don't have to expand on it. It's just a fun fact.
Okay.
John Merrill was a second-round pick in 2010 by the New Jersey Devils, and that was a pick they acquired along with Ilya Kovalchuk from the Atlanta Thrashers.
Really?
Yes.
I like those kind of facts.
Wait, I'm just curious why that was just for Adam.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I thought there was a reason.
I'm looking for the Ilya Kovalchuk connection to the Leafs, but I can't find
That's
it.
okay. No, I understand.
Well, the offseason is young. He might still sign with Toronto. We don't know.
I understand. Probably not.
By the way, he's like Rip Kovalchuk. I remember so happy that he could be coming back, and he's just disappeared. By the way, you know what I noticed about my YouTube channel? I thought you guys would get something funny about this. I've started getting someone who regularly comments on it. His name is Dan Jarvis. Oh. He just left a comment because I mentioned Elliot Friedman in the video. You'll hear it, obviously.
Yeah.
And he was like, Elliot's an idiot, typical Toronto media. Gally wasn't going anywhere. And I was like, oh no. Oh dear, no.
Yeah. Daniel, you know what you have to do. Daniel knows what he has to do. This is unacceptable.
Get the comments going. Get more eyes on the video. Though, you know, like, I didn't realize how old Thomas Greiss was, by the way. 34? I was like, damn. Good for him. And Stetcher. What a steal. What a steal. Man. Suck at Vancouver. Sorry about that. Not really.
At that price.
Mm-hmm. So where are we at time-wise, Alex?
We've been going for just under an hour and 20 minutes.
So would we like to cut it off there, and then we'll start the next episode with the Leafs?
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
So let's end the episode.
Well, listeners, you've liked what we've talked about, I bet. Especially if you've been listening this long, you must. Tune in for our next episode, which will be soon. Just because we've been going so long, we kind of thought we would be doing another episode. If you're here for the Leafs content, check out next episode because we'll be opening, talking about the Armenian army is building, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Bogosian is a Leaf. They've gotten some nice little moves going on. Johnson's deal, Jimmy Vesey, the sweepstakes are gone. Why William Nylander should be traded. We're just kidding. We might laugh at Kyle Clifford because what was he doing? That, and we're going to be looking over, you know, some of the free agents still out there. We're going to be cry that Craig Smith is a Bruin. God damn it. Corey Crawford went to New Jersey for some reason. We'll talk about that. We're also going to laugh at Tyson Barrie because he went to Edmonton. If he doesn't like Toronto media, well, we'll see what happens at Edmonton. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, listeners. We love you so much. We always do. We did all the normal checklist stuff at the beginning of the episode, so we'll finish off by saying thank you, The Voice Said, as always, for being a great platform for the show. Check out all 3 of our social medias. Always, link below.
And we love you, and we will see you very, very soon.
Yeah.
Goodbye.